Salute your Primarch, warhounds! Salute he who shed blood on the hot dust and made the High Riders pay for their arrogance. Salute your Bloodsire and the General of the 12. Salute the one whose soldiers were named the Eaters of Cities. Salute him, Astartes!
And the warhounds answered him. Hands and voices lifted in salute, and axe heads were crashed against the floor. Gathering around Angron, he towered silently at their center. They shouted and saluted again, and Kharn found the strength and voice to stagger to join the circle and add his shouts to theirs.
"Primarch,"
said Angron. His voice was a murmur, but it cut the warhounds' voices straight to silence.
"I am a general again."
"Primarch!"
shouted Draga in response.
"General, your warriors were the Eaters of Cities, Lord, but with you to command us, the warhounds will be the Eaters of Worlds!"
For a moment, Angron swayed, his eyes and fists closed, but then he looked at Draga, from there to Kharn, and he smiled.
"World Eaters,"
he said, slowly, tasting the sounds.
"World Eaters. So you shall be then, little brothers. You'll learn to cut the rope, we shall bleed and be brothers."
This time they all met his eyes. Slowly, one of Angron's fists came up to return their salutes.
"Come with me then, World Eaters. Come down into my chamber, and we will speak."
Angron turned on his heel and walked back into his chamber. Draga served as a captain of the World Eaters Legion during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy. Leading the Ninth Company as a warhound of repute for many years, with the discovery of their Primarch, Angron Falkir, Draga witnessed the slaughter of his senior officers when each sought to console him for the loss of his gladiators of his homeworld, the Eaters of Cities. 8th Captain Kharn managing to reason with the Lord of Red Sands, despite Draga's fears. Upon the emergence of their tormented liege, the 9th Captain uttered that the Legion shall be as Eaters of Worlds. Coining the title to which the 12th Legion would henceforth be known, Draga, armed with his meteor hammer, embarked upon the most brutal campaigns, and for a time, reveled in his Legion's newfound purpose. Implanted with the Butcher's Nail's brain implant, alike to his brethren, Draga managed by sheer force of will to retain much of his character within the throes of bloodlust, his standing as a captain one position lower than Kharn, further bolstering his pedigree. Yet as the flames of heresy tore the Imperium in twain, the World Eaters would be dragged into further turmoil wrought by their crimson-spattered lord, his folly forcing Draga and his company to fight during the Battle of Armatura and fateful Siege of Terra. Surviving the devastation of the Throne World as their Primarch endured banishment into the tides of the Immaterium, with his defeat by the Great Angel, Draga gathered his remaining 9th Company alongside elements of the 17th, led by Captain Argus Brond. Escaping the Sol system aboard the Voidcraft, Defiant, dragging Captain Kharn to safety following his defeat at the hands of the Emperor's champion, Sigismund, unable to awaken the 8th Captain by virtue of the grievous wound inflicted by the Black Blade of Rogel Dorn's greatest son. Draga knew without Angron to rally the Legion, only Kharn would be capable of filling the power vacuum left in his wake. A symbol of the 12th Legion's stubborn resolve, who had led the Legion in the Red Angel's stead on more than one occasion, Kharn could not be allowed to die, their descent into barbarism inevitable without their champion's example. Blaming the Emperor's mistreatment of Angron for his Legion's misfortune, Draga showed no interest in bowing to the Blood God in exchange for salvation, retaining his panoply's colors and eschewing the barbs of superstition. Forbidding gladiatorial rituals aboard his Voidcraft until new recruits could counter the losses incurred from such blood sports, Draga ensured what remained of their apothecaries continued their toil, training mortal crew members to aid their efforts. Awaiting the time when Kharn would awaken from his long slumber to unite the Legion in purpose, with his eventual revival, only 300 World Eaters remained aboard the Defiant as war between legions began to stir, with Draga's execution of emissary Tiberius Angelus Antaeus. Stating coldly that nothing unifies like a war, Draga ensured combat against the tattered remnants of the Emperor's children, fighting within a stable star system, within a pocket of real space within the warp, upon the world known as Scalafrax. Surrendering to the Butcher's Nail's influence for a time, galvanizing his slaughter of the 3rd Legion aboard their warship, the Golden Absolute, Draga and Kharn plotted its course to collide with the planet's surface, using its escape pods to descend following its impact. The betrayal of Scalafrax, giving rise to a monster who would harry the stars forevermore. With the ascension of Kharn the Betrayer now ensured, Draga's deeds would hereafter be unknown. His efforts to unify the World Eaters Legion continued by those who would inherit what could loosely be considered leadership. None know if Draegr still fights to this day, or alike to many of his kinsmen, has fallen in the name of ideals long eroded by millennia of suffering.